I want to start out by saying that I don't know what this thing is. All I know is that I don't want it around me, and I can guarantee that you wouldn't either. Regarding a brief background, I bought my house recently. Nothing special, like a medium-sized place located in a relatively safe suburb. I have a girlfriend, Laura, but she doesn't live with me for personal reasons. At the moment, I'm here by myself. I'm painting the situation because this is the kind of place where kids would go trick-or-treating. Not some decrepit apartment building, not some house in the middle of nowhere. Right here, in suburban America. The first time that it came was 4 days ago, around 9 p.m. I was sitting in my office, I was working on the document, when I heard a knock at my door, and the characteristic little kid voice saying, "Trick or treat!" I mean, not some weird demonic tone. It sounded exactly like a regular upbeat kid. I just brushed it off as some fundraising thing and decided not to open the door. I mean, I was extremely busy after all. Out of curiosity, I peeked out of my window, watching as the kid, dressed up in some kind of Grim Reaper costume, walked down the street. Off the bat, there were two weird things about this. First of all, there were no adults with him. I didn't get a look at his face, but there's no way that he was older than 5. Second of all, he didn't knock on any other doors. I watched as he walked past every other house until disappearing at a turn. Despite the obscurity of this, it was still a pretty sad sight. But nothing that I thought about for too long. Didn't come back again until the following night. This is where the detour to hell fucking no territory begins. I was out with Laura. We were both drunk when we got back. It was late as hell, We just decided to put on a horror movie before heading off to bed, and about halfway into the film, I hear a knock at the door. An upbeat "trick or treat" followed. Laura was quick to act. "What the fuck?" I remember her whispering to me. I hadn't told her about the first time it happened. I didn't deem it noteworthy, after all. I looked at her without saying anything and just put a finger up to my lips. It was barely even a conscious decision. It almost felt instinctive at the time. I got up from the couch, made my way over to the door. Quietly, I looked through the peephole, seeing the same thing in the Grim Reaper outfit from before. It was wearing a mask, so I couldn't really see its face. I really wanted to ignore it. But at the time, I thought it was a kid, not to be rude, but what if he wasn't, right or something? In any case, I reluctantly opened the door. It didn't move or say anything at first, so I asked it something along the lines of, "You okay? Do you need anything?" No response. Alrighty then. I turned around to face Laura and asked her what she was thinking. No response from her either. In fact, she looked horrified. "What's wrong?" "Don't look at it!" was her immediate response. "Close the fucking door!" she screamed. Her sudden outburst made me jump, but I did what she said. "What the hell was that?" I asked her. She shook her head, still sporting the same horrific expression. "I don't know," she said. I looked back through the peephole, but the only thing I saw was the kid walking away. Back towards me. I spent the night trying to convince her to just tell me what she'd seen, but her response was always the same. "I don't know." At a point, she just screamed at me to stop. "I told you already, I don't know." That's all that I could get out of her. She just didn't know, whatever the hell that meant. She left immediately the next morning. It was pretty obvious to me that she wasn't coming back for a while. I did get a parting text from her, though. "If it comes back, don't open the door." Safe to say I was reasonably disturbed. Was she playing a prank on me? Seems rather elaborate, if you can ask me. It could be it. She never does anything like this. Never done it before. Besides, she seemed genuinely terrified. But it was the only explanation that I could muster up at the time, so I went with it. Whenever I would talk to her after that, she never brought it up. Thought she was just trying to pretend like she had nothing to do with it. And she had something bigger planned for me later on. I decided to go with that as well. Following night came. I mentally prepared myself for anything that she had intended to pull. I decided to stay in order to get some work done. It was around midnight, and I was ready to head downstairs to play some Xbox before bed, and then I heard it. Trick or treat! Now, if Laura was the one doing this, then she would have wanted me to ignore it, but I could catch her off guard if I actually opened the door, right? Kid was probably one of her cousins or something. It's weird. It's weird that she was making him stay out so late, but I mean, hey, anything to scare me, right? I suppose. I looked through the peephole once again, seeing the Grim Reaper costume. Forced myself to laugh. "What's Laura paying you, kid?" I jokingly asked him through the door. What a mistake that was. "Trick or treat!" The statement was repeated, louder this time. Caught me off guard, but I couldn't place why, and then I thought about it. The words didn't seem to come from the kid's mouth, but from more of a general area behind him, if you get what I'm saying. I didn't react, continuing to look through, having no idea what to anticipate. "Trick or treat!" It was deafening the third time. I was jolted backwards, but scrambling onto the couch. The hell? I thought to myself. I remained stiff for the next few moments, petrified at whatever the hell was standing on my doorstep. I waited. And I waited, but nothing happened. I was about to go back up to my room when I saw the police lights flashing outside. They rang my doorbell and started asking me questions. "You seen anything disturbing lately?" "Well, I think some kids are playing a prank on me, but... I mean, no, not really." What was I supposed to say to him? When I asked him why he'd come, he responded by telling me that the neighbor had called in, saying that she'd seen something horrible standing at my door. No descriptions beyond that. Just something horrible. The cop eventually decided that the woman was just off her rocker, but to call in if anything else happened. I thanked him and he left. The next day I rang my neighbor's doorbell, hoping to get some answers. I could hear somebody moving around inside, but nobody ever came. Looks like she didn't want to tell me anything either. I relayed what happened to Laura. I could safely say now that this was never a prank. I was in a cab, coming home late after a night out at the bar with some work friends. As we pulled up to my house, I was prepared to drunkenly stumble out when the driver said something that froze my blood. "Who's standing at your door there?" I didn't turn to face what he was referring to. "Keep driving," I told him. He stared at me. He started to ask me what was going on, but I cut in immediately. "Just keep driving." But the guy just wouldn't fucking go. "What do you mean, go? It's some kid. It's almost 1 a.m. What's he doing out there? Look, we have to call some..." He stopped mid-sentence. My head was still facing away from whatever the hell was standing at my door, but I could hear the driver's breathing begin to tense. I heard him mutter out, Fuck, before he slammed on the gas. I barely had time to react. My head slammed on the seat as he took off. I looked over, witnessing his traumatized expression as he sped away. "What did you see?" I yelled at him. All he responded was with incoherent babbling. At moments I could make out, "No, I didn't see," in his speech. I was so focused on trying to get him to talk that I didn't even notice where we were going. Suddenly, I felt the impact. He'd driven us off the road into a local wooded area. I put my seatbelt on, so I was mostly fine. The driver was knocked unconscious, though. I dialed 911, I told them what had happened. Not exactly what happened, just something that they would believe, right? that the driver had gone insane, driven us into a tree. At first, they set their suspicions on me. I mean, no surprise there, but that premise was wiped out when the driver woke up, babbling the same shit that he'd been babbling in the car. Nobody got any answers out of him. He remained in a petrified, incoherent state. They tested him for drugs, for alcohol, nothing. Eventually, he was whisked away to some psychological test. While I was getting treated for my minor head wound, a detective visited me. He told me that there was signs of a break-in at my house. Called in around 1:30 a.m. Window in my basement been smashed. Front door had been left wide open. In the morning, I went back and I looked everything over. It was indeed a mess. My Xbox and laptop were on the ground. Cash that I'd hidden in my drawer looked like it had been thrown across the living room, with bills scattered everywhere. With all that said, nothing had actually been taken. And beyond the window in the basement, nothing really needed to be fixed either. It looked as if whoever was here was in the process of stealing my shit when they dropped everything and they ran out the front door. And that was the law enforcement's conclusion anyway. Not very logical, but logic isn't something that I expect at this point. And I have a feeling that something else happened. Something far worse.